What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So, James Harden and Shaquille O'Neal have a bit of a war of words right now, and it stems back to James Harden when he basically quit on the Houston Rockets after his last game there. Basically, just quit. So, in the light of that, Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley on Inside the NBA, in particular Shaq, were rather critical of James Harden. Okay. Um, Shaq in particular talked about how in the playoffs, James Harden has not delivered for his team at the level that you would expect for a player of his caliber. He brought up the shooting percentages, the turnovers, and all these things, and saying that James Harden has to step up and play at a level expected of a guy of that, or the way that he's projected on to us as a superstar. He has to play at that level more consistent, especially when the stakes are higher, which is basically what me and other people have said on YouTube over the years. He brought up the fact that, it's not like James Harden hasn't had talent with him. He's played with Dwight Howard. He's played with Carmelo Anthony. He's played with Russell Westbrook. He's played with Chris Paul. He's played on one great Houston Rocket team, which won a franchise record 65 wins 3 seasons ago, and ultimately failed after having a 3-2 lead to beat the Golden State Warriors. Now, yeah, they did lose Chris Paul those last 2 games for the most part, but at the end of the day, um, to go over 27 from 3-point range in a deciding game and losing by single digits is choking. And we saw what happened, what was it, a year and a half ago when in the playoffs, Steph Curry did what James Harden couldn't, which is show up in an elimination game and carry your team without Kevin Durant in enemy territory. James Harden, I think, had more turnovers in the last 6 minutes of that game, 6 minutes of that game than buckets, and I think it's credible um, criticism of him. Okay, but James Harden went on Instagram and without naming Charles Barkley and Shaq, he said, quote, "We do all of this talking about uplifting the next African American athlete, male, and some of these ex NBA players use national TV or their own social media to do the opposite. I see it, I just say to myself, the real never lose. Salute to Dwayne Wade for being solid." Now, this is my thing about this. First of all, James, you don't get to pick and choose when you want to be conscious because we all remember when you wore that Blue Lives Matter gator, okay? We all remember when you wore that Blue Lives Matter gator or face mask, okay? Knowing the temperature of the country, knowing that was the wrong time to wear something like that in light of what was going on in this country. So you're the last person to sit there and try to be conscious all of a sudden. And it's another thing that gets on my nerves. Okay, a lot of us who are black uploaders and talk about sport, black uploaders and black, uh, people that talk about sports. We all are very conscious of the racial element. Okay, we're very conscious of that, and that's why oftentimes when I do criticize an athlete, I try not to go overboard because of the fact that we have a reality in this country where when you're an outspoken black athlete, like a Kyrie Irving, or a controversial black athlete, like a Russell Westbrook, you will become a proverbial punching bag for the media. And they will put out a uh, narrative for you or of you. I'm very conscious of that, and I think most black uploaders and or anybody in social media that talks sports or even not sports, we're all very conscious of that. Okay, there's a difference between charlatans and frauds and sellouts like Jason Whitlock, who you could see have an obvious agenda against black athletes, while he tries to uplift, the opposite. And us who may have, you know, our intentions to uplift you, but it's tough love or it's the truth. And look, there is a such thing as constructive criticism. I've received constructive criticism from fellow YouTubers, including the LDBC. I don't really get offended by shit that people tell me. The only time I get offended is when someone lies on me. But when someone tells me, hey man, I think you need to look at this, man. I think you're not being fair with this guy compared to that guy. And I'll look at it, I'll be like, you know what? Yeah, they got a point. I'm being a little bit too easy on this guy, a little bit too hard on that guy. Or maybe I need to stop going as hard on this guy because of this reality that I'm not noticing over here. Okay? Even though it's politics and it shouldn't really be in sports, it's a reality. This is the new world we live in. Everything is heavily politicized. It is the way it is. Okay? But at the end of the day, James Harden, you can't you can't grab that black activism mantle when it just suits you. Okay? Because in reality, I could just say this. I could call you not being very loyal to the minority coach and minority general manager that they just hired, but you all good with the prior management, even though they're your kind. I could go that route, but I think it's very unfair because I don't know where everything is going on. So for you to just, you know, make it about race when it comes to Shaq and Charles Barkley, look, we all know about Charles Barkley, but you don't know that. I mean, it's not right to do that. You know what I'm saying? You don't have, to me, James Harden doesn't have the background or the track record to really speak like that. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't really have that background for that. And that's, I'm just getting tired of a lot of these athletes. Whenever they get criticized, they want to run to the race element. If it's LeBron James, oh man, you keep criticizing the brother. You keep criticizing the brother. You know, LeBron James, he does a lot of things for the community. He does speak out on some stuff. But don't make him out to be Muhammad Ali because at the end of the day, he's still a company man that could be controlled by the powers to be. He's not going to speak out about anything that will be a detriment to the NBA. No matter how many black, uh, immigrants are beaten and harassed and thrown in jail in China and blamed for the virus. Okay, he's not going to speak out on that because he knows the precarious situation he'd be in if he spoke out on China, knowing the relationship and power that they have with the NBA. He's not going to do it. So at the end of the day, don't go too far with that shit with LeBron. He gets his nod for a lot of shit. You know what I'm saying? He should get his credit, but don't make him out to be Muhammad Ali. Don't make any of these guys out to be Muhammad Ali. I think Shaq in this situation has more right to talk to a James Harden like this because number one, even though he says it to ad nauseum, Shaq has 4 NBA championships. Shaq's been to, I believe, what, 6 NBA finals, I think? Gotta think about that. No, I think he's been the seventh, right? Been the seventh. 95, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2004, 2006. No, he's been the sixth. Shaq's been the sixth NBA Finals. But Shaq used to always get swept out of the playoffs. And in many ways, he was in a similar circumstance with James Harden. This was a guy, Shaq, who was getting compared to Wilt Chamberlain. He was being considered the greatest, the most dominant center of all time. I remember in 97, 98, people were saying if Shaq could ever hit free throws or if Shaq could just finally get it together in the playoffs, he could be the GOAT. Okay? So Shaq was in this conversation before, actually at a higher level, but he kept losing in the playoffs. It wasn't that Shaq wasn't necessarily performing per se, but he wasn't dominating in the manner that you would expect a guy like him to dominate. What I mean by that is Shaq might average 27 and 11 in the regular season, but in the closeout series, he might average 26 and 12. Good numbers, matches what he does in the regular season, but they needed more from him. You have to dominate, especially as the center position began to decline. That's why in the finals in his primes, he was averaging 38 and 13, having 40, 20 rebound games. He had to truly dominate. And that's when Shaq became a champion, along with Kobe Bryant stepping up and Phil Jackson showing them how to perform in late key game situations, you know, and how to play as a team and all that. But James Harden's not even doing that. James Harden's not even playing at his regular season level. So yeah, Shaq is in a position where he can say that. And I agree with Shaq when he says, look, my way of uplifting brothers is telling them, you know what I'm saying, that I expect more from you. And, you know what I'm saying, you can be greater. Some of these dudes just want sycophants. Some of these guys just want sycophants in the media who are telling you something, you know, or saying things because they don't want to hurt your feelings. They're not being honest with you. If I want a friend, if I want someone to tell me something in the media, I want honesty. I want someone to tell me you have to change your game. You have to play more from the team concept, and you have to show us that you can be James Harden when the stakes are high. That's the biggest criticism of James Harden right now. That you cannot be James Harden when the stakes are high. That's the base. That's basically it. Don't give a fuck about regular season, awards, regular season games, none of that crap. What James Harden hasn't shown us on a consistent basis is that during the playoffs, when they need him, he can step up. How many times have we seen James Harden in elimination games or when the Rockets need him in a key pivotal game, he disappears? That's all Shaq's talking about. Shaq didn't like that criticism then, but it was the truth. And when he figured out that was the truth, that he had to learn how to quote step up when it mattered, when they had to learn how to win some road games, because you're gonna have to do that to win a championship. When you have to learn how to stop blaming the lesser teammates and step up when they don't deliver, even though it takes a team. But sometimes when you're a superstar, like we've seen Jordan do, like we've seen Magic do, like we've seen Bird do, Elijah won, games where other guys weren't stepping up, they had to carry that team on their back. Even Charles Barkley, even though he's never won a championship, even though he never won a championship, Karl Malone, even though he never won a championship, I've seen games and elimination games where they said, "I'm not going to fucking lose tonight." I've seen them carry their teams and extend series. That's to me a hallmark of a champion player. Even though they don't have champions, I still consider those guys championship level players. The only reason why they don't have a championship is because they played in the same era as Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird and Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. All those players I mentioned, they played in that era. And it was very difficult to win a championship in that era. But that's all I got to say. Tell me what you guys think.